Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to our weekly Let's Talk Risk conversation on LinkedIn. Guys, I'm super excited to welcome Bijan Ilahi today. But a quick note is that we had to pre record this conversation because of some scheduling conflicts. You will still have a great time today, and I encourage you to share your questions and comments in the live chat because I will be able to respond to your questions and comments during our conversation today. So I encourage you to not hold back and share whatever is on your mind. But first, I want to welcome all of you and ask you to briefly introduce yourself in the chat. Where are you joining from? And what kind of work you do? What is your interest in risk management? Please share whatever comes to your mind and let's make a good connection with everybody. With that, Bijan, I'm super excited to welcome you. How are you today?
Hi, Naveen. Great. I'm excited to be here.
And Bijan, you are a well known, recognized, globally recognized, I must say, expert in risk management. And you just returned from a wonderful conference in Australia, right? The Australian Biomedical Engineering Conference, where you were a keynote speaker.
That's right. Yeah, I was asked to give the opening keynote speech.
Great. So, can you tell us a little bit about your speech and what kind of questions or comments came up that could be of interest to us today?
Yeah, this was a really amazing conference, really well done, professional, excellent. And we had about 350 people. What was interesting was that two-thirds of the audience were medical physicists, which is not a well-known discipline in America, but in Europe and Australia it is. And about one-third were biomedical engineers. And it was well attended. I gave the speech, and they had asked me to give an inspirational speech. So it was a little bit less technical than usual and more inspirational, which was kind of fun for me to create something like that. Um, and so what I focused on mostly was that uh, we are all at some point either patients or loved ones of patients. So one way or another, we are all touched by the medical technology that we create ourselves. So what goes around comes around, as they say, you know. And then I also talked about the large impact that we as biomedical engineers have in the medtech safety. Um, because as you know, medical devices touch a lot of lives. A physician can see one patient at a time, but a biomedical engineer that creates a device touches thousands, tens of thousands of lives. And so our impact is huge. And if you think about it, if you remove the medtech from physicians, take away the X-ray machines, the MRIs, the surgical robots, even the stethoscope,
Mhm.
where will they be? Where will the physicians be? They go back to the dark ages. So
Mhm.
I was illustrating the importance of medtech. And then I finished by talking about that we all have an ethical and a moral obligation to create the safest products, and then we can be proud of our work. And we are really blessed to be in the place to be able to create such an impact. And I talked about, and I also gave some personal stories
Mhm.
about my own experiences. So yeah, it was really well received, and
Nice.
yeah, they're going to have another conference next year. This time it's going to be a World Congress, which will be for about 3,000 people next time.
Very nice. Bichan, I can totally understand that your speech must have been very inspiring because even I feel inspired. The way you are giving us a context for our work. I think what you are sharing with us is the reason why we work so hard. All of us in the industry, not just engineers, but also quality regulatory people, our medical safety professionals, clinical specialists, our
Yeah,
manufacturing people, everybody in the medical device industry, I think they pour their heart and soul into the work they do. And this is the context you are providing why we do that. So, really awesome, Bijan. Thank you for sharing and congratulations to you for
thank
being
you.
invited as a keynote speaker. Now, Bijan, you are also organizing another very nice conference next year in Amsterdam, right? Am I right about
That,
that?
that's right. That's right. Yes, this will be the second conference of this type, focused entirely on medtech safety and medical technology and medical devices.
And as far as I know, there is no focused or dedicated conference exclusively for safety risk management of medical devices, right, Bijan?
Yeah, I mean that's right. I've been in system safety for decades, more than 30 years, and I tried to find a conference for medical device safety. There was none. I mean, I went to a lot of conferences about other types of system safety, like aviation, space, nuclear, automotive, defense,
Mm-hmm.
but very little attention given to medtech. So finally, last year, some of us people who are passionate about the subject put our heads together and thought, let's just create a conference for medtech industry. And we did in 2024. Actually, the first conference was in April of this year, and it was held in Minneapolis,
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a tremendous success.
So that is awesome, Bijan. And guys, we're going to talk about this upcoming conference towards the end of our conversation today with very important details for you. Some early bird pricing special for registration that you don't want to miss. So just hang in there and we're going to share all that information in just a little bit. So, Bijan, I want to spend a fair amount of time today with you trying to explore some of the big picture, big themes in risk management today. We keep hearing about artificial intelligence, machine learning, for example. I know FDA has approved or cleared close to 1,000 AI ML devices, right? So it's a big thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what I want to kind of talk to you about, Bijan, is what are the high level questions or concerns or topics of interest our risk management community people have about AI ML devices? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So AI ML is powerful. It really is revolutionizing the world, including medtech. But there are some issues that are new. For example, the performance of an AI ML device is not static, unlike regular devices that we are used to. The performance is predictable and static. So, given the same input, you get the same output. But when you introduce AI ML, the device can learn and change rapidly. So what you submit to a regulatory agency today and they approve it will not be the same device tomorrow or the day after because it's evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the challenges is how do we manage this evolution? And another one is the explainability that
Mm-hmm.
AI ML machines, they can make decisions and perform things that are unexplainable. I liken it to a human mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you go to a doctor and the doctor makes a diagnosis for you, and you tell him, "How did that happen? How did that decision come out of you?" He has to really think about, well, what things happened in my brain, what
Mm-hmm.
information interacted for me to say this diagnosis. Similarly, for an AI ML machine, these things are happening in its computations, but we don't really have that much clarity as to how did it arrive there. That's
Mm-hmm.
another issue.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I keep hearing about FDA being very particular about explainability, and they want sponsors to be able to describe how AI ML is making those decisions. And Bijan, on your point about frequent changes, a very valid point, right? They are
Mhm.
expected to go through changes, how we manage that. And I want to share with everybody that FDA has come out with a predetermined change control plan regulatory tool that people can use. It's not simple, it's not easy. And guys, there's a lot more information about that on the Let's Talk Risk newsletter that you can check out. And we'll have more conversations about that. So, Bijan, let's keep moving because the second topic that keeps coming up now is cybersecurity. It's kind of related in a way, but
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about, from your view, what are some of the top of mind concerns about cybersecurity?
Well, cybersecurity is also something new that has become more and more prominent. Decades ago, medical devices had little connectivity, and cybersecurity was not such an issue. But gradually, as we all experience, there are more and more hacking happening, breaches of security, and this can affect medical devices in different ways. It can affect the performance of the medical device. For example, someone could alter the algorithms that operate the medical device, and this can have a direct safety impact on the patient. It can also affect the availability of medical devices. For example, you could bring down a medical device so it can't operate. And imagine if somebody is in a trauma, they arrive at a hospital, they need to be x-rayed, and the x-ray machine cannot be turned on. So that's also can affect the health of the patients, but more indirectly. There is a third kind, which is not so much about safety, but it's about loss of information, like private health information of patients, or even secrets of the manufacturer, maybe
Mhm.
the trade secrets that are in the algorithms or inside the machines that could be stolen.
Yeah, and Bichan, it's funny because recently I came across an article, I think somewhere, where there's now a connection between cybersecurity and AI ML too, where there's a concern that someone might corrupt the training data, and it
Yes,
might actually corrupt the AI ML logic itself. So, guys, as you can see, we have to think about many different things as risk practitioners. And Bichan, I want to clarify one point with you. From FDA's point of view, the device doesn't necessarily have to be connected to the internet for cybersecurity concerns to be evaluated during risk management. Is that correct?
that's right. Yeah, you can have cyber breaches without connectivity.
Mhm.
Um, somebody could put a USB drive into a receptacle of a medical device and introduce viruses or other malware.
Yeah, so we have to be very careful and aware of them. And as risk practitioners, we have to kind of help our teams sort of evaluate these scenarios, even though they might be uh, have very low probability, right? So, guys, if you're joining just now, we are having a conversation with Bijan Ilahi, a well-known, globally recognized expert in risk management. And before I forget, I must tell you, if you haven't heard about it, Bijan wrote an excellent book about safety risk management of medical devices. A great resource for anybody who is working in this area. I highly recommend that. And in the meantime, guys, make sure you are sharing your comments and questions in the live chat because I'm monitoring that and I'm going to be responding to you in real time. So, with that, Bijan, let's continue our conversation because the third topic that I keep hearing about, which also I have experienced personally, is challenges in post market safety surveillance. And this is a big topic in EU MDR too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is a difficult area because medical device manufacturers are required to surveil their devices once they're released. And of course, this makes a lot of sense because as manufacturers and as risk managers, we can only predict so much. This is about predictive engineering. We predict what is going to happen in the future, what kind of things can go wrong, and we try to prevent those things from happening. But we are not perfect in predictions. Sometimes we miss things. So that's why regulators want us to continue to monitor the field. Well, there's some issues. One of them is, one way of collecting this information is through complaints. And complaint handling, if anybody has had any experience with that, is a messy area.
Mm-hmm.
Information comes in missing pieces,
Mm-hmm.
conflicting pieces, wrong pieces, uh, and we as manufacturers are supposed to make sense of that and derive value from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is a challenge. Like, how do you code the failures or the problems that have been reported? And how do you use that information to connect it back to pre-market risk management?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's trending. We are supposed to trend this information and anticipate signals
Mm-hmm.
to predict what's going to happen. If you see some types of complaints are rising, nobody is injured yet, but you should be able
Mm-hmm.
to predict if this goes on in a month from now, somebody's going to get injured. So let's take preventive actions. So it's complicated. And so this is one area that also people have on their minds.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize here that just gathering complaints data and responding to them and you doing adverse events reporting for regulatory reasons is not surveillance. Surveillance is what you mentioned, looking at the big picture, finding patterns, finding signals, and confirming those signals, and that becomes extremely challenging. So, guys, those of you who are listening, I actually want to invite you to share any suggestions you have or any things that you have come across that worked for you, any best practices. Please share with all of us. We are here to learn from each other. And post-market safety surveillance reporting requirements, there are pretty explicit requirements in EUMDR, right, Bijan, that people are
Yeah,
still trying to figure out, right?
yeah. But well, actually, in the U.S. as well and Europe, there are reporting requirements that are not sometimes not so straightforward.
Yeah.
In my experience in the manufacturing world, I mean, in the world of medical device manufacturers, I remember times where people were scratching their heads while thinking, well, is this a reportable event or is it
Yeah.
not? We can't quite tell.
Yeah. And there are so many warning letters I read from FDA where they have actually gone after manufacturers they thought were not reporting appropriately. So this can be a challenge. And one thing we should not forget here, Bijan, right? That at the end of the day, we are also wanting to feed this information back into our design process so we can make the next generation of products even safer, right?
Absolutely, yeah. This is a strong desire by the regulators, and also it's just smart business. Why not learn from what goes wrong and fix it so that our next generation device is even better and safer?
Yeah, and although I should admit that in practice, that is proving to be a lot more challenging because we seem to be operating in a very siloed type of organizations. And I know you and I have talked about that on this forum in terms of collaboration and improving our, cross-functional collaboration participation so that we are not siloed out. So guys, keep that in mind as you think about post-market safety surveillance. All right, Bijan, let's talk about the final key topic here that is on my mind and on everyone's mind is about usability engineering. Tell us a little bit more about what's kind of really what people are thinking about in the usability and what are some of the best practices here.
Well, usability engineering is a huge topic. In fact, IEC 62366 has its own view into safety risk management, but from a usability perspective. And human beings have a way of just doing things not the way you predict them to do. Just about any medical device manufacturer would have some horror stories about how some user figured out a way to misuse their device or make a mistake and use the device in the wrong way. Um, uh, and both, well, in the US, we have the human factors guidance from
Mm-hmm.
the FDA, and also in Europe, we have IEC 62366 for
Mm-hmm.
usability engineering. Both are very interested in proper design of medical devices from the ground up so
Mm-hmm.
that using techniques such as formative studies, manufacturers and designers can learn from small tests through focus groups to figure out what things can people do wrong, how do they make mistakes. And you can, I don't know if you have participated in such studies. I have, and it's really eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to see people. You're watching them and you see, oh my God, they're just doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Why is that? Then you ask what were you thinking?
Yeah.
So yeah.
And to your point, we have to think about it in the design phase itself. Now, Bijan, we have talked about 4 topics here, and I see a straight line running through them when it comes to software and AI ML, right? We started with AI ML, cybersecurity is important, but post market, I know FDA has pretty high expectations from manufacturers to monitor post market vulnerabilities that they become aware of and share them
Mhm.
with people, right? Because
Yes.
cybersecurity is going to be all that we cannot predict when there'll be attack. So we need to learn from others. And usability, like AI ML devices can, if they are not explainable, if they're not transparent, if the interface is not user friendly, we can actually make wrong decisions using AI ML devices. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
see a theme running all through it. So awesome, guys. I hope you are enjoying this conversation. And I still encourage you to continue sharing your comments and questions in the live chat, and I will respond to them as much as I can. So, Bijan, now let's talk about this conference that you are organizing next year, safety conference for medical devices in Amsterdam, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the second edition of this conference. First was in April of 2024. The second conference will be in April of 2025 in Amsterdam. As I mentioned earlier, the 2024 conference was a sellout. We had full capacity, and we had nearly 300 people that participated from 13 countries. A lot of people traveled from Europe and came to Minneapolis to attend. So we thought, in fairness, we should hold the second conference in Europe so that they don't have to do the traveling all the time. And also, we wanted to expose this conference to a broader audience because there are some people that may not want to travel to America, but they will travel short distances. So we wanted to
Mhm.
increase our reach. And the city of Amsterdam was chosen. It's a central city. They have a very good airport with connections to just about anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the city itself is also very interesting. It's also centrally located. You know, the Netherlands is kind of in the middle of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
People from everywhere can kind of reach. We are hosting it in a 14th century royal palace that
Wow. Nice,
the
nice.
yeah. Interestingly, the mother of the current king of the Netherlands was married in the same venue. This palace has now been turned into a hotel, and we are going to
Uh-huh.
host the conference there.
Very nice. But one of the things, Bijan, if I remember, the first conference was unique because uh, you were able to have a very broad participation from all different functions, right? Tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about what kind of people participated in that conference.
Yeah, we had it was huge. We had, I mean, naturally, quality assurance is a big player in the risk management domain. Systems engineering, R&D people, regulatory. We had clinicians, which is an area that I think should be emphasized even more. Physicians, nurses that attended. We have regulators, academia.
Mm-hmm.
We had a professor from Drexel University that gave a talk. And actually, later on, I realized that besides that, we had two other universities, Virginia Commonwealth University and Texas A&M, that were also participating in the conference, but in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
We had students, professors. Yeah, it was really broad, and it
And
was quite exciting. The energy
don't
was
forget
unbelievable.
and also the FDA, right? Didn't someone come up from the
Yeah,
FDA?
right. The FDA came, and also you should be maybe interested to know that for 2025, the FDA is sending two of their people now
Nice.
to attend. And on top of that, I've been talking to somebody from TÜV Süd, the TUV in Germany, who is going to participate and provide a European perspective on the regulatory um, thoughts.
Very
Um,
nice. Very
and we
nice.
have some really good, one of the speakers from the FDA is going to tell us what good looks like in risk
Mhm.
management for regulatory submissions. I think this is going to be really hot.
Wonderful. So, great location, great environment, a diversity of participation from different functions. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you have on the program? What kind of topics you're going to be talking about?
We have a list of topics on our website that you can look at. It's about a dozen topics that we have. I'll just mention a few. We talked about AI, ML, cybersecurity, innovations in risk management, trends in regulatory trends, software, clinical perspectives, usability engineering, how to design safety into systems, into medical devices from the ground up,
Mhm.
some best practices in post-market risk management, um, how to measure the maturity of your risk management process and benchmark it. And also, I've invited the convener of the ISO TC 210, Technical Committee 210 Working Group 1, which is the creator of ISO 14971, to talk about the
Mhm.
future of the 14971.
That's
We
awesome.
will have several authors of ISO 14971. And if you're familiar with ISO TR 24971,
Mhm.
I think probably many people are, the chair of that document also will be there. And not only speaking, but also teaching.
Wonderful. So, guys, we really encourage you to look into this. This will be a great opportunity to mingle with the very best in risk management across the world, especially in Europe, and also be exposed to these new ideas in these fast emerging fields. So, Bijan, now I know you have some special deals for people who register early. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, to encourage more participation, there are two discount periods. Period one, which is the early bird one, that will give the biggest discount, is going on now and will end on December 31st. And then there would be a second discount period, which will be a smaller discount from January 1 to February 28. And then after that, it goes to full pricing. So
Okay.
I would definitely encourage you to sign up as soon as possible and take advantage of these lower prices. And
And
one other thing, One
Mhm.
other thing, if I may add, anybody who registers as a delegate gets free access to the conference recording afterwards.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we will be sharing these links in the live chat, guys. So take advantage of that. Start these conversations early in your organization so you can get support. Make a strong case why you should be there, especially if
Mhm.
you are involved in risk management. And we are talking about it so much here because we want you to be aware of this wonderful opportunity. This is the forum where risk management we talk about a lot, and we try to share this information. So, Bijan, as we are about to close our discussion today, can you tell us a little bit any other detail about the conference that we should be aware of?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We have added a pre-conference day for tutorials and workshops. So the conference
Okay.
itself is in April 24 and 25 of 2025. And the Wednesday before the conference starts, which is the 23rd of April 2025, we've added a full day of tutorials and workshops where we have invited some of the top experts in the world to come and teach a number of classes and tutorials and workshops for a low price of 199 euros. You can attend as many of those workshops and classes as you want. Basically, you have the whole day. You can go anywhere, any class. Um, and I think this is an excellent opportunity and value. I definitely
Great
encourage
value.
people to take advantage of that.
Great value. I'm sure you cannot find a better value than this on top of the conference and the educational opportunities. So, guys, I hope you are excited about it as much as I am. Please share your questions, comments, or any other information you want about the conference. But we want to see as many of you out there as possible. And let us know in any way we can help you to build a case for support within your organization. If you need our help to pitch it to your manager or directors for support, we will be willing to help you because we don't want you to miss this opportunity. Okay, Bijan, I think we had a wonderful conversation today. As we close, Bijan, let's recap our conversation, and maybe if you can share with us a couple of key takeaways in those four areas that we discussed, that should be top of mind for us as risk practitioners.
Well, we talked about AI, ML, we talked about cybersecurity and usability engineering and post-market surveillance. These are all tied together, but I say the first three are more about pre-market as you're designing devices to determine how we can manage the risks of these devices, both from a perspective of cybersecurity and usability and user interface. But then if it is an AI or ML based device, the additional complexities that come into play. You mentioned, Naveen, about PCCP,
Mhm.
that the guidance that has been released by the FDA. That's it's a good place to learn about the strategies to manage AI ML based devices. And definitely come to the conference, and you're going to hear a lot of conversations, a lot of talks. We have received a huge number of abstracts, so we can curate a wonderful program for this conference. And plus, we're going to have expert panels and roundtable discussions, so you can talk to each other. I mean, you're not going to
Mhm.
be just a listener; you're going to be a talker too,
Yeah.
and learn, share. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, what a wonderful opportunity, Bijan. Thank you so much for your time. Guys, before we close, I will just share a couple of announcements with you. This is going to be our last conversation today of the year. So I wish all of you a very happy holiday season and a happy new year. We will come back again in the first week of January with another wonderful conversation. So I look forward to seeing all of you. Personally, I want to say a word of thanks to all of you because you have been engaged, so engaged in these weekly conversations, and that has inspired me myself. That has given me so much energy to do it week after week. And just you will find very soon a curation of our top 10 conversations in 2024. It's going to go out on LinkedIn just in the next week or so. So keep an eye on that. So in case you missed any of these conversations in the past, you can catch up on them. These are the top 10 most downloaded recordings of our conversations. So again, happy new year, happy holidays to all of you. We will connect once again next year. And Bijan, thanks once again for taking the time to share your knowledge. And thanks to all the work that you're doing to really inspire us to do our best in risk management. Thank you.
Thank you, Naveen. I appreciate your work and making this forum possible for people to connect and share knowledge and connect. You're making a community, and I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And happy holidays to you as well.
You too. Bye-bye.